Okay, so if you have any questions, ask Mick as he goes, but he'll stick around for about half an hour. So
Thank you very much, Hannah. Thank you guys for having me. My name is Mick Spencer, and I'm the founder and managing director of OnTheGo Sports. We are a company based in Canberra, but now selling our products all around Australia and overseas. So what I'm going to do today is just briefly touch on my story to date. We're 4.5 years old, and we've had an exciting journey, and then I suppose bring it back to what we're all here today about, which is embracing diversity. I've personally faced many challenges, and actually my company was built off a lot of those challenges I faced and the difference I wanted to see in the community. So I think it's very fitting. So I think I'll take you on a journey, my story, mistakes I've made, things I've done well, things I've done terrible, where we are today, where we're going, and then what I've also learned through a lot of it. So when I left grade 12, I did not know what I wanted to do with my life. So I bought a one-way ticket to an island called Hawaii, and I worked in a kids camp. Was their first international intern, and I was teaching underprivileged kids in Hawaii sport programs, so leadership programs through sport. Now I wear contacts. I was born with significantly bad eyesight, short-sighted eyesight, and I've also had 2 heart conditions. One has almost killed me 3 times before I was 18. So I experienced a lot of these health challenges, and straight away, by the age of 18, I had to, just to wake up in the day, live my life. It was a challenge. So what that actually did though, it built this kind of personality in me of, you know, just going for it and going all out. So if I was going to do something, I was going to go as far as I could, and that was to a random island in Hawaii. When I was over there, I really realised how powerful sport was for a community, and how powerful I was individually to these kids in empowering them through sport and getting them to realise that although they didn't have everything like everyone else, their life could be great, and it's all a mindset game. So I kind of over there was thinking, you know, what can I do on this planet to make a difference and to really build something and build my loyalty into the globe, and I had no idea what that would be. However, I did have an idea to create branded products when I was over there. And I thought, you know what, it'd be really cool to create a brand, you know, a global brand. I was hanging out with pro surfers, pro athletes. I thought this would be great. Came back, age 19, registered in a university degree I only just got into. I will admit I had a UAI of 40, and I had to network very well to get into that degree. Second week in, $150 in the bank, I registered the name OnTheGo. Now, at that time, a business registration was $142. Who knows maths? I was left with $8. Now, that $8 took my first client to coffee. I talked a bit of crap, and I got an order for 100 t-shirts, and I had no idea how to make these t-shirts, but what it was an order, and it was an ability to start a business. I call it OnTheGo because everyone used to call me Mick OnTheGo. That was my nickname. It's always go. Still am. Now that for me was great because what it did, it gave me a purchase order. It then gave me an ability to understand what a quote was, what an invoice was, how to get money, how to pay for it, finding a supplier. I didn't even have a supplier before I got the order. And what it also did was understand what profit I could make. And at that point, I'd set up an office in my beloved father's wood turning shed. He removed it, put some carpet in it, put a desk in there for me. I'm ever so grateful for him. And that first job made me $500, and that was enough money for me to buy a second-hand laptop. It was enough money to buy some stationery and a tiny batch of business cards. I was well on my way. Little Ford Laser, running around town trying to get these orders. What I realised was if I really looked after this customer, and he then referred me to 5 of his friends. His 5 of his business, the same product, right? I thought, well, if I could do this once, but 5 times, it's quite repeatable. Nice. All working quite well until about 3 months in, the big kind of thing happened. And what that was I got a call from the Golden Council. And they had a predicament. And the predicament was that they pre-sold 400 cycling jerseys for this charity cycling ride. Now, we all know cycling, how much of a big sport it's gotten. Problem was their senior procurement officer had been fired and didn't order the goods. Right? So they had the money for it, they had the product, they had the demand, the event, but they didn't have the product. And that was a real predicament because the event was in 4 weeks, and the industry standard to make that amount of garments was 12 weeks. Globally, worldwide, no supplier in the world could deliver it in less than 12 weeks. Now they called me from a network and said, oh look Mick, we think that you and your company can make this product, you know, and I said, sure, look, let me chat to the production team and I'll see what we can do. It's 12 o'clock on a Wednesday. went upstairs. Mum was off that day. I said, Mum, let's go to the sewing room. I said, now, I've just virtually committed to this $17,500 job. I said, I think I've got to find a factory overseas to make it, but I really think we can do it. I've talked to this supplier online, and they said they could do it in 3 weeks if we paid a bit of an extra fee. We'd have to air freight the goods, and I think if I air freight it directly to the event, then we're not going to need any middlemen, so I really think we can make the deadline. And I think my mum's a midwife, and very calm lady, and I don't think I've ever seen like her face turn white. You ever committed to this, have you, Mick? I said, look, I've told them I'd get back to them in 24 hours. So what we did then, Mum and I didn't sleep that night. We actually, with the time difference in China, it worked really well. We interviewed this factory, and it worked out just very well. It's funny how sometimes when you've got a big vision for something, the right things fall into place. And this factory had a brother in Sydney. The brother told me, the brother of the owner of the factory said, look, we could do it, you need to pay a bit more, it's definitely doable, you're crazy, but we can do it. And they said, you know you're going to have to pay for air freight, which is going to be significantly expensive. And I grew up in a building family, and I would always, you know, over the dinner table, hearing Dad, oh, did you include the cost of goods in this and this and this? I was like, okay, if I include air freight, then I'll most likely be able to pay my bills. So long and short, that 4 weeks was probably the most stressful 4 weeks of my life, because I was working in a sporting goods store, but I'd never ever been able to manufacture technical apparel in my life. But I thought, you know, if I put the right people in place and I kind of take that leap, I think we can do it. Now, I intercepted the goods on the Saturday morning, delivered it to the event 2 hours before it started. And I'm a cyclist, and I raced in the event, and it was quite. It was one of those moments in life, and I think we've all probably had those moments, or we all will have those moments. And I was very lucky to have that moment at 19 years old, where everything made sense. Everything made sense. I realised that this stupid thing I'd done connected those 4 things there, and that to me is life, right? Like purpose, people, planet, profit. Like that's what my 4 Ps are personally. It's how I operate business. It's how I do every venture I ever do. And it just made sense. We were riding. I was riding in this race. And I went, holy crap, I've got my logo on 400 of these garments. That's 400 people I can start annoying. All I need to do is talk to 20% of them and convert 5% of them, and I've got, you know, X amount of new customers. And I realised, hang on, everyone in the world cycles. So if this has worked here, and I did this off my iPhone whilst at university in my parents' garage, maybe if I actually built a business out of it, there could be a global opportunity. And there was a significant one at that, and there still is, and it's a very exciting industry to be in. Now, it's quite funny because the naivety in me being that young kid kind of going, yeah, sure, I'll put my hand up and go for it, broke down all our competitors because our competitors were too big and they're not nimble enough. You know, they had too many processes, too many middlemen, and their profit margins tucked away. So young kind of tech person jumps in, throws an innovative idea out there and really disrupted the industry. But it was based off what the customer wanted, and that was stuff yesterday, you know. So that was the start of OnTheGo as a brand. We're 4.5 years old. We've grown quite rapidly, average of kind of 90 to 100% year on year. The strategy's been to get the most amount of products built, reinvest in the business and build a really good foundation and a real scalable model. And we've really realised that, here's actually just a basic timeline I thought I'd bring you through, down to the certain things that we've done. So where the first office was, our first channels overseas, other kind of big exciting things that we've done. We've now, you know, we've had some amazing accolades to date. You know, we were one of the youngest, or we were the youngest company ever to sign a deal with. I don't know if you've ever heard of Ironman. But it's the number 2 tattooed brand on a person's body. Ironman is, next to Harley Davidson. Ironman's a big sports event. That's the biggest sports event in the world. Now, to be a supplier to that, usually you've got to be a 10, 20, $50 million company, 10 years experience, very vigorous process to actually supply. We had a global deal with them for 12 months, which was exciting. They're a very big company. Sometimes great to deal with, sometimes difficult to deal with. However, great for the brand. Great for the brand. The strategy in the last 4 years has been, how can we make ourselves look as big as physically possible without having to do that? Because we have organically grown since day one. So self-funded off $150. We've never had investment, never had bank loans, never had debt. And it's a really good point now because we've proven the model. Now it's time to scale. So it's very exciting. Just wanted to touch quickly on how we've been able to utilise technology in a marketplace where typically it was very hard to order uniforms, it was hard to order sportswear. People want things very quickly, but with all of these bigger companies, they need to send out people, to do the orders, tailor make it, etc., etc. We've been able to integrate a lot of technology, but also giving that customer the ability to design what they want, when they want, and have it delivered fast. And that's the supply chain technology that we've continued to invest in so we can continue to compete. Also things, people wanted the most amazing gear, but people realised that they had to order 100 or 200 pieces to get that. We have a 5-piece model. 5-piece model, 3 to 4 week turnarounds, any joint in the world, all money back. That's a game-breaking model because all the other bigger players are, we'll quote you 8 to 12 weeks and it's X amount, you've got to order 200. So we're definitely making headway with a lot of our competitors. I believe a lot of them are really annoyed at us, which is great. We're definitely
doing well when they're
so here's just to give you an understanding about where our products actually are sold to daily, where our products are being used, and where we're continuing to sell to. We've now got 280 unique products on the books. A lot of those are online, so anyone in the world can go on, choose styles, design their own ad colours, see the price, upload an imagery. We've really automated the process. We also we've kind of split into 3. So our customised business makes up close to 70%. Our wholesale business, which is when we supply our products to larger organisations like Anytime Fitness, health clubs, Jets Fitness, etc. And now we're taking our first leap into a retail environment. We've just signed a deal with David Jones, so we've got a nice activewear line for men coming out early next year to David Jones nationally. They gave us the purchase order yesterday with 25 doors, and Canberra's one of them, so it'll be very exciting.
How long did that take you to negotiate?
We pitched 3 weeks ago and they wanted it before Christmas and we said we can't. And then they said mid-Jan and we said no, so we pushed it back to early Feb. Fortunately enough, one of my main advisors was the ex-head of DJs I pitched it to him 12 months ago. We've collaborated with the face of David Jones to do it. But it's been, you've got to have the right ins, and then it's not great that they give you a big purchase order because they give you this vendor agreement that's huge, and if you don't do it right, you can burn yourself. So. And I've made every mistake with these big conglomerates that look amazing, see amazing, and you've got to do that in the early stages. But you fumble and you make mistakes, they cost you and they hurt. Here's an example of some of the organisations we work with. So these are some of the bigger ones. Obviously, a lot of them are probably reputable names that you know. But we also work down at the community level, and we've made sure that the brand, as we grow, the brand is really at home in the community. So we've got customers out in the middle of nowhere in Australia, like in the Kimberleys of Australia, ordering 10 pieces. We're freighting out to them. We're freighting to schools out there, gyms, we're freighting to sports teams and all of that. But we're also freighting to, large conglomerates now overseas and that. The model's disruptive because we're now fully, when I say fully, about 90% built to a point that all of our products are QC'd at factory level and they're freighted directly to the user. So we're not middlemen at all. Yeah. And it's just a no-brainer, right? It's a no-brainer that no one did. We've been featured there. I just thought I'd put that photo in there to name drop just because I got to spend a day last year with Sir Richard Branson, mentored me for a day. Absolutely amazing guy, and we're working very hard on supplying Virgin at the moment. But
by the way, did you know that Richard Branson has, correct me if I'm dyslexia?
He does. We got along very well on this panel because I can barely see the nose on my face. And he had dyslexia. We both talked about our challenges at school. Yep. And how we don't
really... The inner freak, remember the inner freak.
That's right. It's my fault. Yeah, I agree. What I wanted to touch on is, this is purely for me, it's a lifestyle. I absolutely love our products, I absolutely love our customers, I absolutely love my staff, I absolutely love every single thing our products give people the ability to do. I also love the fact it's given me the ability to do 2 amazing things, and that is from a community focus. One of them is this, building a race team. So we have a race team called OnTheGo Racing. Funds 20 athletes, mountain bikers, triathletes, runners. Aimed at community, aimed at a team environment for those who can't quite make it at an elite level, but they're struggling. It's expensive to travel, it's expensive to race. We realise that we work a lot with events, we work a lot with travel partners and bike companies and suppliers, so I just went, well, if we build a brand around this and go out to all the people who we work with, and they fund it, the athlete's the best outcome. We've had some amazing success stories. We've had guys come in at 17, at 19 they've gone to Com Games and come 5th in mountain biking, and they've moved on to now European teams where they're earning 150 grand a year as a road cyclist. And that's amazing. And I think the next thing, which is more of a newer initiative, but something that's just been more branded recently, is the Everyday Matters initiative. So my passion since day one is how can I use my business to change the world? Like, I know it sounds very big, but how can I actually use my business to change the world?
Yeah.
But we can't all individually change the world, but we can start with something. I think in business, it's very important to have something. So we actually, in our industry, we've got brands who, you know, they're all about that individual and performance and on that high end. We've got a lot of world-class athletes, global endorsement, research development partners that says our materials, products, etc. work like that. But my passion is building, it's getting more people into sport. That's my passion. That's what I live for.
Including disadvantaged?
Absolutely.
So would you be interested in disadvantaged youth?
Well, listen to this and then we'll talk.
Sorry.
So, no, I'm not cutting you off, but absolutely.
No, that's all right.
So 3 years ago, I went to Fiji, right? Went to Fiji, I was like this young kid, naive about the world, but thought this is amazing. I've got this brand, I was wearing all these products, and then I ended up going out to the villages in Fiji to realise I had absolutely nothing. You know, 20 years old, I thought, Jesus, this is amazing what they don't have, but how happy they are. The one thing that I loved was sport and active living though, because it connected these groups, right? And we went out there and we started playing sport with them and it was amazing. I ended up camping in the hotel and staying out in the village. I left them with my suitcase and it was amazing because in my suitcase with all these sporting products taken over with me. And it just brought all these kids together. It brought all these kids together, everyone started playing and I realised, wow, if they're actually using these products to further play more sport and get healthy and get off the streets, smoking, drugs, stealing, etc. Imagine if I tie this into my sales pitch, we get our customers to buy into it, and we utilise all our samples, misprints, as well as from every order, we'll make more, then maybe we can, as a brand, actually do a bigger thing. And back then, it was a business with a bit of a social love. Now we're actually, realistically, passion is humanitarian, is using the business as a full-on ability to deliver that. So we now work with 2 charity partners down the bottom. One's Fair Game, one's Sport Matters. Fair Game activate programs out in the WA, and they're just expanding over into East Australia. That photo is actually of me and a whole bunch of kids out in the Fitzroy River 4 weeks ago. I took my annual leave, because we all get annual leave, right? You know, 2 weeks annual leave. Told the boss I was going, and I went out there, volunteered with this charity to see the programs that we've been funding over the last 12 months, and it's absolutely amazing. I mean, I have my phone switched off for 10 days, which is incredible. These kids are amazing, and what I've realised in my with social work, you have to run it with the vigour of a business. You have to run it with the vigour of a business, but rather than making profit, you're making outcome, you're making charitable effectiveness. And what I realised was I continued to send goods over to Fiji, but then I'd go back there a year later and I'd realise that none of the gear that I'd sent to the village was there anymore, and someone had said someone would go on walkabout selling it on the streets, and then he was using the money to buy alcohol, and I thought, gee, well, this isn't what I was aiming. But then I realised, well, I can't do it on my own, I can't do it with my team here in Canberra, so what I need to do is work with partners who are accountable, you know, like staff need to be, and they're accountable to outcomes, and we measure that. So we now have a model when you buy an on-the-go product, we'll give a child 12 months worth of sport in a developing area of the world. And at the moment that's strategically focused in Australia and Fiji only. And we'll continue to do that for a couple of years. But what we'll continue to do as the years go on, if we enter a new market to sell, the first strategy is not where we open shop, what organisation do we work with first? And that's now tied into our message. So our customers can do that. And we're building technology that will be out in about 12 months where you'll be able to scan the back of our garment and you'll be able to, it'll take you online straight away and it'll tell you the child and the community that you've made a difference to. And that's a big, I mean, for us it's why we do what we do. Like every one of my staff are in the business because of that. Startups are, you know, hard to work with. You don't have the funds that the Big Four has or all of that, but what you do have is purpose. And I think if we all make a step in making a difference, it makes business a hell of a lot easier to build. A hell of a lot easier to get through those tough times, and a hell of a lot easier to also be known in the marketplace. And nowadays consumers are, you know, the spend is, especially our generation, is social. Is I will not go to this burger place because I can go there and I know they're supporting the local area. And we've realised that in our industry, there's no one really doing this. Companies will write a corporate social responsibility plan because they have to tick the boxes, they have to have presented an annual report, the shareholders need to know that they've got you know, the right certificates next to their manufacturing, but it goes further than that. It goes way further than that.
Their heart's not in it.
Their heart's not in it. I've been out to all our factories. We give back to all our factory workers. We give them goods every year. We actually make it happen. We don't talk crap, we make it happen. So, we're very excited because it's funny, I actually I didn't realise 4.5 years ago that we would be where we are today. I had the big heritage goal that I wanted OnTheGo to be a global brand, but I had no idea how to get there, right? There's no roadmap to this stuff. What I've actually realised, more from bringing on amazing people, I think the key to business, and I say I think because I don't quote me, but is having a big audacious goal, huge one, huge one, and then just waking up living that every day. And if you do that, you end up bringing amazing people around you. And I've been so fortunate to have, I mean, I've made my mistakes with people, don't get me wrong, we all have, and I think in that no roadmap, people will tell you what the right way is. They'll say, oh, you should go down this street and turn left, then turn right. But you turn left and you run straight into a brick wall. You go, well, you told me to turn left and then turn right. There's no right turn.
Yeah.
So, but in having a big vision, I'm quite happy to say I've actually been exposed to some amazing people who are now helping further in my business. And you know, we now get advised, and now that the company's taking a new change in structure and growth, you know, I get advised from the ex-CEO of David Jones of 5 years. He's my kind of daily coach. The founder of the North Face brand out of America. North Face in our industry of apparel textiles is one of the leading brands. You know, they've just ticked close to $4 billion. Hat left at just under $1 billion. He's very similar to me, very entrepreneurial. He founded it, was just an adventurer who wanted to see people getting out in nature more. That was his goal. That's, you know, still is a 65-year-old San Francisco guy. That's very much his passion. And these people, they can fast track a lot of things. And I'll touch on it when I talk on adversity and diversity, about how some of these things are. People go, how do you get these people? Like, how did you just hang out with that person? Or how did this person introduce you to this new contract? And it's like, well, you've got to throw yourself in the deep end, you know? You don't know until you know. And people say, we've got to pay for, and this is a good lesson for all you guys if you're all starting businesses. I don't know where you're at, if you're in a business or starting one. But don't let anyone tell you anything. Because everyone will tell you you need the right consultant or the right direction, or you've got to pay for this advice, but there's no harm in shooting for the stars. What my vision was, and still is, right, especially going through this growth we're going through now, is who is the single-handedly best person possible in this country or in the world to help me? And I list them. Who's my realistic board in the next 12 months? And who's my realistic board in 5 years who are totally unachievable? I can't get the head of Red Bull to help me right now, huh? 5 years maybe. So I'll write them down and I reflect on it. And that's how I've been able to get some amazing people on board. You know, Paul Zara, who is becoming our chairman, who was CEO of David Jones for 5 years, very incredible name in retail in Australia. He changed David Jones a whole lot. He went through a lot of adversity himself and did incredible. He was out a couple of months ago through their buyout. Now, I am the only person in Paul's career that he's ever taken a cold call from. Ever. And I literally cold called him. Now, it's funny, it's a funny conversation actually, because I knew, I'd watched his success for years and I'd looked up to him and gone, wow, that's amazing. But what I'd actually done was I realised that we actually sell to National Breast Cancer Foundation. We make 1,000 bright pink running singlets every year. They partnered with David Jones, and I knew Paul Zara wore my gear at a running event. So what I do, I added him on LinkedIn, I emailed him, he didn't write back, I called him. I said, hey Paul, love to learn from you, you've got time for a coffee? And he was, you know, shaking and said, oh yeah, sure, you know. So when I went up to Sydney 18 months ago, I said, hi Paul, Mick, I've got a big vision of where I want to see my business, I'd love to learn from you, you know, do you have time if I come up? And he you know, was obviously a very busy guy, but made the time for me and has continued to, and I'm fortunate enough now to learn from this guy daily, whether it's new things that are happening or growth, and we'll continue to work together. And I look back, it was quite funny, I had one of those moments on Friday last week, where with 2 heads of PwC globally in retail in Sydney at a 3-month meeting that had taken to book all these serious people, and I had to put my big boy shoes on and wear a nice suit and all of that. But I kind of looked at it and I went, isn't that quite amazing that I ended up there only because I just cold called this guy because I wanted to learn from him. You know, and I think that says a lot about just backing yourself.